Do you want to sing along? If you want. Here comes the drop.
Freedom.
This is freedom.
This is freedom.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Boys Bible Study.
That's a good loop. Yeah, I think we can
Okay.
just mute it.
Boys, as you may know, there's a war going on. A war America has been involved in for years, with no end in sight. Who knows how many lives it has touched in the process? I'm talking about the war on Christmas. We watched a great movie today called The Last Ounce of Courage, and I was hoping, Julian, you could summarize it a little for us before we got to discussing it.
Yeah, so this is possibly one of my all-time favorite movies I've ever seen. I think I've seen it about 8 times now. I first came across it after I'd watched the Stephen Baldwin God's Classroom, or what is it? Do you know what that movie is?
God's Club?
God's Club.
I still haven't seen that one.
It was on
Me neither.
Netflix at the time. It's great. Last Ounce of Courage is better. But Last Ounce of Courage is better than most movies.
About when
Ever
did you
made.
see this?
This was probably 3 years ago. I watched God's Club, and then under the Netflix recommendations was Last Ounce of Courage, and I just decided to go right into it.
So this was on
And,
Netflix.
It was. It's not anymore.
Yeah.
I bought the
Wow.
DVD on Amazon, and you know a movie's going to be good when the cost of shipping is $3 and it's 300% more than the cost of the actual DVD.
Yes, that is such a good sign.
It's a movie about the war on Christmas. It stars a Marshall Teague of, I think, Babylon 5. He played an alien in that, and he plays a biker / pharmacist / mayor of a small town, Mount Columbus, who is fighting against the federal war on Christmas. You don't really know who's attacking Christmas, but it's under attack. It's based on the book Last Ounce of Courage, which is currently out of print, which was written by the director of the film. It was put together by Hellfighter Productions, which you can't find any information about. Stand USA, which is their Facebook page, is their only web presence, and it's been defunct for 6 years now.
Also very out of print. We went to, at the beckoning of the movie, we went to standusa.com, and right now it's just an American flag banner and nothing else. A little something at the bottom that says, courtesy of GoDaddy, and
Yep.
that's all we got. Everything's very, very rare.
And Veritas Productions, which I could only find one Veritas Productions company, and I don't think it was the same one. So by all intents and purposes, the war on Christmas is over and this movie lost.
You think it lost?
I mean, all the people behind it have been erased from history, like some sort of Stalinist revisionism.
And nobody celebrates Christmas anymore.
Yes.
That is true. Can anybody explain what Christmas was and how it was celebrated?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't talk about that.
Well, hopefully we figured something out from this movie.
Boys, why don't people do Christmas like that anymore?
That is one of the important questions that's asked by Christian, Marshall Teague's grandson in the film.
Yes, Christian Revere is the grandson of Bob Revere, the patriarch of the Revere clan. And he comes into town from L.A., where he's growing up. He's a teenager. And he finds out about his father, the late, what's his name, Thomas Revere?
Yeah.
Yes, the late Thomas Revere, who perished in the war when Christian was very, very young. And anyway, he comes back to the small town where his dad is from, and he's seeing some Christmas videos, and he's saying, why don't people do Christmas like that anymore? You know, with the shepherds and the angels.
Yeah, the home movies of the family celebrating Christmas, which I was raised Jewish, so I don't really know how people celebrate Christmas, but do people still do that stuff, don't they?
Are you saying that you don't do Christmas like that anymore?
I don't think I ever did Christmas like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But for real though, people still sing carols. People still do this. This is like the typical like weird, we'll probably say persecution complex a lot in this, but like framing the fact that you don't do something as nobody does anything, therefore it's like something that's under attack is like a common trope in this movie and a lot of Christian media. But like the idea that because you don't see something in your immediate lifestyle, then it's non-existent anymore. You see that a lot around Christmas time.
Absolutely. And literally everyone does Christmas like that all the time. Everywhere there's manger scenes, everywhere there's shepherds, any workplace, any school, any place you've ever been in, people do Christmas like that. It's very, very vocal. It's just always such a crazy thing to me how much people try to ignore the fact that it dominates the culture constantly. The religious aspects of it too, not even having to do with the secular versions of the holiday. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, in my hometown in Indiana, they have a gigantic Santa Claus lighting. It's like an 80-foot long, 30-foot high Santa riding a sleigh made of Christmas lights, and it's like a town event. And they also have a gigantic Christmas tree lighting that's like in front page of the newspaper when it happens every year.
But whose birthday is it? Is it Santa's birthday or is it Jesus' birthday?
That's a good question. They never mention Jesus at the Christmas tree lighting, although his name is in the title of the tree.
Scott, you had a very religious upbringing, yes.
Yes.
What were your Christmas celebrations like when you were young?
Well, we still had a Christmas tree and presents and generally celebrated capitalism in the same way that everybody does, no matter how religious they are.
Very secular.
I think only the most religious sects or the most, serious, I guess. Like, I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses do a Christmas tree.
Right. Just because Jehovah's Witnesses are the best. They just like really put the money where their mouth is.
Yeah, Christian's grandma in this movie says that nowadays Christmas is all about Santa and buying things, not how it used to be, which in the videos are from like 14 years before when the movie takes place. So it's like in the span of 14 years, Christmas suddenly became about commercialism and buying things.
Yes.
And when is this lady from? 3,000 years ago?
I'm confused by that as well, because both of my parents are from Ohio, and they both celebrated Christmas pretty much the same way that they do now, growing up from small children to now. And so we still have all the same presents and Christmas tree and everything, but then also we'll the Advent calendar, or like Advent wreath, actually. That's a bigger one.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays you got the Advent app, and you just press a button on your phone. Get a little digital candy.
That's a good point. People don't do it.
Maybe that's why they're all pissed off, because kids are always looking at their phones when they should be looking at the manger.
Kids are playing Fortnite when they should be thinking about the night before Christmas.
But when this movie came out, before Christmas was completely destroyed by Fortnite, they weren't looking at their phones yet.
Oh, that's true. They're playing Halo or Counter-Strike.
Halo is a very Christian game.
True. Yeah.
Think about it.
They were looking at the Halo on their Xbox. They should have been looking at the Halo above.
Thank you.
The angel's head.
Someone said it.
Wow.
Thank you. So political correctness is a big reason why people don't do Christmas like that anymore. A big theme in this town is that, political correctness is shutting down the Christmas celebrations. The town is being run by this greater national culture of political correctness, and it's actually just a vocal minority in the town of really passionate Christians who want to feel free to celebrate the way they want, and they're being oppressed. And so I sort of wanted to talk about this trope that we see in a lot of films, which is the idea of the Christians in a community as the vocal minority who need to take a stand to get what they want. I think we see that through and through this whole movie.
Yeah. Well, in this movie, it's almost like they are 90% of the town, and they're just being silenced by people who are being offended by images of crosses or people saying Merry Christmas. And you never once see any of those people that they claim are offended by anything.
Well, just once exactly, you see.
Which
when the mayor himself is putting up the Christmas tree.
Oh yeah,
there are exactly four people with signs up who are protesting. Yeah,
but then there's also like 24 people protesting in favor of the Christmas tree going up on the other side of the.
Yes, there's many more people who are in support.
Yeah. Both sides do it.
Which in a town of like 100 people. Just the bravery it takes to go out and say that you hate Christmas, like march against Christmas, is pretty incredible. It's like, as you were saying, like the fact that he says at one point he's trying to make it so if you want to celebrate Christmas, if that's okay. If you are Jewish and you want to light your menorah and blow the shofar, that's okay. Or if you're a Muslim and you want to go out and pray in the middle of town square, that's okay.
Yeah, I wrote down his exact quote is, if you're a Muslim and you want to pray to Allah in the middle of the town square, go ahead.
That sounds like a threat.
Absolutely.
Or like a dare.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's just this whole premise that, he's defending everyone's freedom. And, this is really just, we, just like any religion, want the freedom to be ourselves in this town. They throw that little bone to people who may not be Christian in the town, but that's not the case at all. That's just, obviously such a transparent ploy.
Yeah, and he is in a leadership position, and he's basically an extension of the government in that town. And Scott, you brought up a good point that, like, what the hell has he been doing for the past several years that he's been mayor?
Yeah, he's like, unbelievable, the people in charge here. And you're like, you are the person in charge. Yeah. Presumably the town elected you to be mayor.
Yeah. Well, there's a town of, like we said, a town of literally 100 people where one person, Bob Revere, has to serve as the mayor, the pharmacist, and
biker. Who spends every morning riding his bike with an American flag around town.
Everyone needs to do literally 4 full-time jobs to make the town run. Yet they don't have the authority to be Christian.
No, and he doesn't seem to understand the difference between being in a position of power and having the position that you are in be an extension of you as a person.
Oh yeah.
Because he, like, his actions as mayor are to, like, he loves Christmas so much that he thinks that it's okay to use all of his resources, all of the local government's resources to promote the holiday that he loves so much, which is clearly, and we'll get to a little bit of this later, it's clearly just a coping mechanism for his son's untimely death. But he says he doesn't have a problem with a Muslim praying in the middle of town square, but would he be as comfortable if a Muslim mayor was elected next and used all of the local government resources to promote Ramadan or Eid?
To build a mosque.
To build a mosque.
Imagine if there was a mosque going up in this town.
I don't think, I mean, we can talk in hypotheticals all we want. I'd like to think you'd be cool with it. I'd like to think you would stick up for freedom.
Yeah, that would probably only take one single ounce of courage to get that to pass.
I have all this courage left over.
Let's talk a little more about the character of Bob Revere.
Sure.
Because in this movie, I think he represents a trope that we see in a lot of Christian movies, and also his relationship to the other characters, especially his dead son, is very important and drives the narrative of this. I would call Bob Revere's function in this movie the trope of the perfect man. We see this in a lot of Christian movies, especially the protagonist. This is a character who has no flaws. I mean, he's basically like a working class, small town, white, like, portrayal of Jesus. Like, he's never sinned. Any mistake he's made in his life was either something anyone could have done, or it's just like the reason he acts that way is because of, his convictions or his like pain. Like there's always a justification for his issues. His son, Thomas Revere, like we said, died in the war. Unclear what war that is. And when he was very young, left behind, he was a survivor. His wife, Dottie, his daughter-in-law, Thomas's wife, Kari. That's how you say her name? Yeah. And, basically the only things he does wrong the entire time are love freedom too much. And one time in the war, he admits he made a mistake by falling into a booby trap that killed and injured a lot of his men when he was in the war himself. But he's perfect.
They made it clear that in that situation, it was extremely trying. Nobody could have possibly done better when he made that mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like
he's blubbering like a little fucking wimp.
I like that's definitely a Christian movie trope, but it's also like, we're a big fan of movies that I like the term our friends Nick used the other night. He called them idiot auteurs. Mm-hmm. I think, a little crude, but like, let's be real. That's a really concise description of a lot of the people we like. And a lot of them do this thing where they really write themselves in as basically like God or Jesus. Like you can really see people's insecurities or I don't know what you want to call it, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if this was an extension of who wrote the book or what, because the book was written by two people. One of them directed the movie and wrote the movie, and they play the theater school play director. And then the other plays the angel that shows up. But there's no real, you don't really know if they wrote themselves into this, but it's clearly they wrote the ideal man in this 60-year-old biker who loves Jesus and respects the hierarchy of society.
The hierarchy that he's
Christian
at the top
society.
of. He's supposed to be at the top of, and they are undermining that.
Yeah, and he defeats all arguments by just saying, no, you're wrong. Never actually refuting anything.
I love when Bob Revere is talking to Wayne. That's his name, right? He's talking to Wayne, who's sort of represents... He's the avatar of the national politically correct culture that's coming to the town to tell them what to do.
Who's played by Fred Williamson, I think it's worth pointing out. Since he was in tons of 80s action movies, but mostly does Christian stuff in the 2000s.
Gotcha. I thought he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. So he's been in a bunch of movies?
Yes, and that was actually kind of a shout out to him in that, what was his name? Hammerschmidt or something?
Wayne Hammerschmidt.
Because he's had the nickname Fred the Hammer Williamson before.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he represents... It's unclear. He represents either the ACLU or the U.S. government.
Yeah, which is all lumped together. And it's also very important to note, he is pretty much the only major black character or person of color in the movie. He has this really thick mustache. He just always scowling. He absolutely represents this other, this PC culture, which sort of means this hidden threat of minorities and people of color who are trying to impose their values on this white Christian town.
And this movie is a product of the Obama administration.
Yes.
This was made in 2012, deep in the first 4 years of hell for these people.
Yes.
And all these production companies folded right after Obama was reelected, which is really funny.
But there is one other black character who they
yes
make clear is good.
Yes, Leonard.
There's literally a magical black janitor in this movie.
He shows up out of nowhere to tell them that the school is lying to them about Bibles being illegal in school.
I love, what's that one line where...
Thank you, Leonard.
Yeah, I love that line where Leonard comes in and he says something like, there's no law against Bibles, they're just cowards.
There ain't no rule. Say again, Leonard? There ain't no rule. They can have their Bibles here if they want to. They're just a bunch of cowards. Thank you, Leonard.
I love it. It's like the scene in Air Bud when he's like, "There's no rules against dogs playing basketball." There's no rules against no Bibles in school.
I can't believe he got defeated by the Airbud logic.
Any sort of resistance towards the total fucking intercourse between church and state is for someone to say, that's not in the Constitution.
And then, Wayne's like, there's a law. And Bob's like, there's not a law. And Wayne's like, then you're breaking the Constitution. He's like, you know that's a lie. And that's like the
hammer
town
is
hall.
silenced.
Hey, he got him. So, just a little more about these characters and how they influence the arc of the film. There's a big theme in this movie, of course, of war, the heroism of war, the ultimate sacrifice. At one point, Bob Revere says that the ultimate love is a man laying down his life for his country or for another person. And, as we said, Bob Revere's young son, Thomas Revere, actually went to war. There's all these tearful montages of him being like, don't worry about me, Dad, I'll come back. But he's like really hot. So like, of course he's going to die. And, his wife is pregnant. And like, I mean, he's a fucking goner. Like his family's way too perfect. So, I know we were all discussing just like the idea of going to war to another country. We're just this weird like offense versus defense. Like you're defending freedom by playing offense and, bringing death somewhere else. I think that's like a big contradiction of this film.
Best defense is a good offense.
True.
That's what Dennis Rodman says in the movie Double Team.
With
Val
Dane
Kilmer.
Cook.
No, it's Val Kilmer.
I'm thinking of there's one with Dane Cook and Dennis Rodman.
Really?
Yeah. I forget what it's called.
Or not with Val Kilmer, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Val Kilmer can't do that shit with his legs.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
But I think you had some good points to make about this, Scott.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's just war in general. They don't specify where it is or for what reasons at all. Just the fact that you're going to war somewhere automatically means you're defending the freedom.
Yeah.
Your freedoms at home, which they totally conflate with. So let's say we're totally on board with their defense of Christmas at home. That is at home and happening to them at home, and they're dealing with it there. And so they are, no matter what, they are defending that. Whether it's for a good reason or not.
It's for a good reason.
It's for a good reason. But then saying you're like defending something by going somewhere, like you said, best defense is a good offense, is like insane. He says at the beginning, like going to put yourself in harm's way, and you're like literally bringing the harm.
I mean, yeah, that's just like our war rhetoric in general. Like, I mean, we have been at war like basically my entire life. Like I'm 28 years old. Like I can't remember a time since I was maybe very young before I was conscious of national, world defense and things like that. We're always been at war. That's just like our normal. And
we have army bases all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out by the timeline of this film what war this kid would have fought in, because the movie was made in 2012.
Well, it came out in 2012, so they're probably working on this in like 2011 first.
Okay,
so.
And then it was 14 years before that in the chronology of the movie.
Oh, right.
Which they never say what year it is in the movie, so this could be the future. This could be the distant future. But
it's filmed in 2075.
Looks like he's fighting in the Middle East. I think I looked it up once, and it was like the.
I mean, that would line up with like. Okay, because
No,
I mean that would line up with 9/11. Like, let's say.
No, that's
Oh
way
no,
too.
wouldn't even line up with 9/11.
No,
It had to have been
absolutely not.
pre-9/11.
Yeah, it's like 1997. Would it be Bosnia? Bosnian
And
War.
remember, Thomas Revere.
be.
Thomas Revere was
still too early.
in there, whereas he was in a special unit that rescued prisoners of war.
No, that was Bob Revere.
Yeah, Bob was in a unit.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I thought the son was too.
No, the son just went off to some nameless, but which it's like almost an anti-war message that this kid just got sent off to fight some enemy that they don't know what they look like. All we know is that they're not allowed to celebrate Christmas,
Yeah.
which he says in his farewell video.
And they're against big government throughout the movie, but in that case, it would have been like big government that sent him to war.
Yeah, so he's sent to fight some war that we don't know what it is, why they're fighting in it, who they're fighting, where they're going. Same with the dad. He's part of a secret military operation, and they don't say what war that was in or like where he was, what he was doing, what the point was. It was probably some fucking overthrowing some South American socialist government.
Basically, this movie is woke as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
Just like many of these movies, like, you can use the same evidence to draw the complete opposite conclusion, and then this movie would just be woke as fuck. Like, literally everything in this movie could be kept the same except for, Bob Revere being Antifa, as we discussed.
Yeah,
and,
in spite of big government's wishes, he gets together with his local biker gang to use their own physicality to, like, put their message out there and defend it.
Yeah.
He's Antifa.
Yeah, except instead of going down that path, he decides to exploit his son's death so that people remember the meaning of Christmas. And he's angry at everyone else. He says that his daughter and grandson left when he needed them the most. And, like, everything is framed, like, through him. And not, like, the fact that they all lost someone that they cared about. It's like, these people don't understand me. Why aren't they helping me in this situation?
Okay, that's a great segue because I really, really wanted to talk about the climax of this movie and also just the theme in general of exploiting these young men's deaths for some sort of, symbol or, like, the spirit of Christmas or whatever it is, because the climax of this movie is a Christmas pageant that we can get a little more into the pageant, but essentially it's a thinly veiled Christian allegory, but it's not Christian enough. Mm-hmm. So the kids, to keep the spirit of Christmas, sabotage the play and bring a Christmas message. And at the climax of this, in front of a live audience, young Christian Revere actually plays a live videotape of his father just getting completely murked in, like, a little room in the Middle East, like just an utter snuff film that's being broadcast in front. It is so fucking funny.
All right, so this guy is just asking to get killed.
I love it.
Him and his army buddies are hiding. They're hiding in, like, a warehouse, and he's decided to take the time in the middle of this conflict to pull out his video camera, loudly record a message to his family at home.
Just a few
in the
days
middle
ago,
of a school pageant.
He really didn't care that much about the real meaning of Christmas. But then I found a video, and I want y'all to watch it.
Cue the snuff film.
Kari,
This is Thomas Revere
I
talking.
love you so much. I want so much to hold you and to be with you. Wow, I miss you.
It's a full auditorium of people watching.
Christian,
And I
saw your
don't
picture.
want to miss a thing.
thank goodness you take after your mom. Well, guys,
Oh, the principal's so mad.
I just want you to know that I'm fighting for you over here and for our freedom. I do it because I love my country and because I love you. I've been thinking that a lot of guys like us have given their lives in places like this, so we can all enjoy our freedom back at home.
Oh, that place.
Man,
We're so blessed. People here
can't even celebrate Christmas. They'd be killed if they did. Just keep playing. Pray for our wounded.
The janitor just stopped the principal from stopping the movie.
Please, please.
Which it would have been a good
Pray
idea
for
to
the
stop
families
it.
that have lost a loved one over here.
People are crying.
Freedom's worth it.
Freedom is worth
We're
it.
gonna win this. We gotta win this.
I don't know, kid.
Well, God bless you guys. I love you. And Merry Christmas.
Should have said happy holidays.
Owned.
He was just blown up on camera. His camera totally fine, and the tapes made it back home.
Okay, yeah, okay, so let's just say you murked this entire building full of, like, devils just causing death in your country or village or whatever. And then you find this camera and you're like, oh, well, hell, let's send this back. There's kids going to want this.
Yeah. And also the last shot that he leaves it on is a shot of Thomas Revere lying dead on the ground
With a nosebleed.
cross hanging from his neck.
Yeah, very.
dead
I
from a
didn't even
concussion.
notice. Very conspicuous cross hanging from the neck. Nice touch.
So this is a really interesting piece of propaganda because if you were to say that this was Iraq or Afghanistan or any specific climate, then you're opening yourself up to arguments about whether or not that war was just. And so by leaving it as vague as possible, there can be no one can say, well, that war was just for oil, or that war was because of corporate interests in that region, or that war was because of whatever. They can just frame it however they want. And in this case, they're literally fighting for Christmas, I guess.
Fighting for Christmas.
So any idiot who watches this is just going to now associate military with Christmas, and Christmas with freedom, and freedom with whatever this white ideal of freedom is, which, he says freedom's worth it, but there are plenty of people in this country who are not free, regardless of how these people think this country should be run. And they wouldn't be free if it were run according to the ideas
And it is.
put forth
and they're
by
not.
this movie. Yeah.
This is freedom.
So I just thought it was funny that the son who died, his widow meets up with their childhood friend who is now a cop. And I think that the movie made him a cop so that it would be okay for her
Him to work on Christmas Eve.
for him to work on Christmas Eve, and for her to hook up with him, basically.
Yes.
Because, like you were saying, he's a
troop.
A troop.
Yeah, the cops are troops.
Yeah.
And everyone knows if your husband dies in the army, in the war, he doesn't come home, you have to stay celibate forever until you fuck another troop. And cops fit in with that.
Yeah, and the second she sees him in that cop's uniform, she is thirsty.
And they haven't seen each other in 14 years. And they're immediately like, hey, what's up?
The last time they saw each other was at the funeral of her ex-husband.
I mean, guy's a fox. Like,
Yeah, and
I don't
she's
blame
just
her.
ready to fuck. I guess she hasn't had sex in 14 years, and she's got
Yeah.
this fucking weird-ass little toad kid running around
yeah.
wearing... what are those shirts he has like tap-out shirts that he wears over button-downs?
Okay, I have to talk about, because like one thing, anyone listening to this who wants to see this movie, I would really say see it just to see what the son, Christian Revere, looks like, because almost everyone else in the movie, you can pretty much get a mental image of what they look like, picture what Bob Revere looks like. Picture what the evil lawyer looks like. But Christian Revere is this really weird, like swoopy haired, super effeminate emo kid with like really just like disinterested eyes and like a really bright face. And he sort of dresses like Avril Lavigne going to church. It's very, very strange.
That is the perfect description. It's amazing because everything at least makes sense in this fucked up world. It's set for him.
Yeah. And it's weird because he's like, in any other movie, he'd be gay, or at least coded as gay, or everyone in the town would be like, that kid's fucking gay. But he's not. Like, the girls are like, Christian's pretty cute. And like the family just like totally accepts him. And he's like, but I don't know.
Well, they immediately come to like hit on him by being like, hey, will you come play basketball with us?
Yeah. And then the next time they see him, all they're talking about is him and how hot he is. This movie would not pass the Bechdel test, by the way.
What?
Even with the
case
little
you're wondering.
kids. Yeah.
Well, it's just great. I mean, like, I don't know. As a gay person myself, like, watching these Christian films, I often think about, like, just the gay coded aspects of them, and they're almost in every movie. This movie is just really kind of strange with them because we have the character Christian, who is very gay seeming, but almost unintentionally. Like, other characters really don't treat him as such. That's not really, I mean, there's no aspect of, like, romance or anything to him at all. They give him this, like, morality that's to be lauded because his role in town is like he's the Christmas defender. So I feel like maybe it's one of those things where the whole family and everyone in the town is like, we know that kid's gay, but like he's not going to talk about it. And like, goddamn, he loves Christmas. So like, it's fine.
And he has zero facial reactions about anything.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's a fucking legend.
He's great. He goes at it with Bob Revere and he says, what does he say? I'm just one kid.
I wrote that line down. You know, he's talking.
Let's. Oh,
please.
And when he talks
Let's go there.
Are you going to the part with the reporter? Or?
No, when they're sitting around.
We'll get some of Christian's best moments.
Well, I just wanted to know because when the reporter talks to me, he goes, "Look, lady."
I love
my
that
God.
part. He's such a fucking diva. I love him.
Yeah.
Queen,
here we go.
icon, legend.
Christian gets in trouble at the beginning of the movie because he brings a Bible to school, and that's
His name is fucking Christian.
Yeah.
Like, for the love of God. I mean, yeah.
Literally.
Uncredited Bill O'Reilly cameo.
Displays of the federal holiday are under attack by the ACLU, and some department stores even tell employees to avoid saying Merry Christmas. So
Dude!
we decided to look at some retail.
Bob, you're
practices, and
famous!
Here's what we found out. Sears, Kmart.
Wait, real quick. Bob was holding up a paper that he's reading with his face as a picture on the back of the paper in front of his own face.
Would not answer our question. Simply ducked the issue. They were the worst we had to deal with. 85% of Americans say they're Christians. Christmas is a federal holiday, signed into law by U.S. grant, and we're living in a time where some retail outlets will not say Merry Christmas. Insane?
yes. The fucking laws are only convenient when you want them to be, aren't they?
Yep.
The law of Christmas.
What did my dad die for, Bob?
It's Christian calling him out. This is also the most normal he's ever dressed in the movie.
That's what happens in war.
No, I mean, why'd he die?
Yeah, don't question the nature of war. Just know that if you're going to go to war, you're going to die.
He gave his life for his country. So, what are we doing? What are you doing?
Chris.
Your grandfather was in a very special unit. He rescued prisoners of war.
It's like a fucking Neil Breen
What
line.
are you doing now?
It's not that easy, kid. What are you doing?
I'm just one kid.
He's
Well,
14.
I'm just one grandpa.
Let me go back.
Okay.
Like you
No,
say.
I mean, that's fine.
Christian's 14 and he moved to this town like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you
He's
doing?
about to shake things up.
And this guy's literally the mayor of the town and has lived here like for decades.
One more time. That's my favorite line.
I'm just one kid.
Well, I'm just one grandpa.
Wow. I love this shit, man.
Oh my God. So good.
Christian, queer icon for the ages. But we have one more, I would say.
Christian.
It is. I love it.
Christian Revere. It's just the fucking intersect of religion and
In American history,
patriotism.
it's so
It's so
iconic.
insane.
We stand a Christian legend. But yes, so if Christian is maybe the one gay character in the film, the other one is actually the writer of the film cast himself as the writer of the big Christmas pageant that the kids are going to act in at the end, which and I should say that this character in the movie is very gay, like plays this like feeder queen who's like, scurry away, like down the like is giving all these stage directions to the kids, just being very, very flaming. A couple interesting things about this gay character. The writer actually wrote himself as the evil gay character in the movie, which is very interesting. Like, I wonder if that's like a little dig at himself. Like, I wonder if that's him sort of like writing away his own insecurities, or maybe he's just making a joke at gay people's expense. I don't know. There is
probably a combination of the two.
Yeah.
There is a certain type of like straight man who's making homophobic humor that will go to like great lengths to actually act like really gay, or like will dress as a girl and get like really into it and do like full makeup and do shit like that.
Yeah.
I love like the people on YouTube who are like, I'm against like trans rights, I'm gonna dress as a girl and like walk around, and it's like they do a great job. And you're like, damn, you really went into this, didn't you? I don't know. Like, you can't help but be a little bit about like, you really wanted to do this.
Well, you gotta understand where the hatred comes from, which kind of goes back to what Bob says to his daughter-in-law when he says, all these years I hated myself and I took it out on you and the family. So
A rare moment of self-reflection in this genre.
yeah, and then he just fucking goes
Completely
off
brain
in
dead
the
film.
wrong way.
I love it.
Well, all these years I hated myself when I thought I should have been hating the U.S. government for this war on Christmas. But yeah, he cast himself as the effeminate, evil gay character
Yes.
who is like, it's also kind of implied that it's not really implied, but the principal is also pretty effeminate.
Yeah.
And he is like friends with the theater director, and they're both like, they don't really care about anything except their own careers and
they also,
making the play happen.
And they also talk shit about other local plays, which I may say, from being a young theater gay who did high school theater, that is exactly how all the play directors act.
There was a lot of drama in the theater department at my high school.
Same.
The the drama teacher got fired for like trying to put on the musical Bat Boy, and they fired him and then put on Godspell.
Wait, Bat Boy? Like based on Weekly World News?
Yeah, that's a musical.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
And-
there's a
and
Bat Boy the musical.
He was a tremendous asshole. I'm so glad he got fired. But he also slept with one of the students and then married her.
They are
and
always
then
doing
I'm
that.
pretty sure he was sleeping with another student when I was in the musicals at school, because he was like, he had a clear favorite that he, and like there was one time she had to borrow a mic from me and she left it somewhere, didn't return it to me, and then when I didn't have it, I was like, hey, she didn't put it back where it was supposed to be, and he was like, I don't care what she did, you need to keep track of this microphone. And I was like, okay, he's definitely sleeping with her.
Maybe you should have fucked him.
Wow.
I could be married by now.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. Well, he would be unemployed now, so.
Hindsight's 2020. Okay. Just as a fan of this genre in general,
Yeah.
how does this film stack up against its competition?
Go ahead, Scott. I'm speechless.
I would, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it between a 9 and a 10.
Yeah, truly.
It really hits all the notes. No parts are wasted. I understand why every single part is in the movie. It's a true tour de force. And it made me constantly question everything about why I should even bother being alive.
Yeah.
Great film.
I completely agree, completely. And, I'm not just going to be like, obviously I love this genre, even a really weak movie in it, I'm still excited to see because I'm trying to see them all. But I've got to say, of the many that we've watched together, this one sticks in my mind. We just watched it now before recording this. That was my third time seeing it. So many surprises, so many things I didn't notice. It's just your classic, like you said, hits every note. I would absolutely recommend this to anyone who's trying to enjoy some contemporary Christian cinema.
I would like to interject too with those the surprises. So, by chance, we watched an M. Night Shyamalan movie last night.
Yes, we did.
And
Yes.
the punch in the face ending of this movie, M. Night wishes he could do something like that.
True.
Like, it was amazing.
There's never a dull moment in this movie. No scene is wasted. It's like the perfect combination of watchable bad movie and wait, it doesn't need a combination. It's just a watchable bad movie. It's great. It's the perfect movie. Watch it. You'll never see anything like it. There are many imitators, but there's only one true last ounce of courage.
That's beautiful.
And
How many times have you watched this?
I've seen this at least 8 times.
I love
I
it.
watched it. I watched it again the next day. I watched it twice in one day. I've watched it twice with you too. I've watched it maybe 3 times with you, Ash.
I've seen every time I've seen it, you've been there. So
Okay.
yes, I've seen it 3 times. So absolutely.
I think we should watch it for every episode of this podcast and just break it down further.
I'm just going to close it out by saying that this movie title came from a line in the movie where Bob Revere says that he said to his son before he sent him off, "I told him to defend our freedom with his last ounce of courage," and that's exactly what this movie was.
So tonight I stand here a freedom fighter. This country was founded by freedom fighters. Men and women who love their country and their creator. 400 years ago, our forefathers
same
left the
shit they
religious
tell,
oppression of another land
people
to
in
build
ISIS.
this one. And the first thing they did the first thing they did was to put a cross on the shores of the Atlantic.
Did they?
But it was more than a cross.
The first
It
thing
was
they
a
did
symbol
was
that in this land,
starve to death and
a
then try to
citizen
eat each
has
other.
the freedom to worship as he or she desires, or the freedom not to worship at all.
Yeah.
My fight isn't
Show
about
some people of
colored
color.
lights or a tree
The
on the city
B-roll of the
square.
only people of color in the movie.
My fight is about freedom and taking back what has been stolen from us. We are losing freedoms, one by one, that our forefathers, our brothers in arms, and my son died
Non-specific
for.
freedoms.
It is time we stood up for what they died for what we believe in. Our rights are being destroyed, perhaps forever. But don't you see? We're letting it happen. We're asleep. We sleep and they come in like a thief in the night and they take what's left. Wake up! We can't sleep anymore. Wake up and look around you. Look what's coming over the horizon. We can't let the enemy take one more inch. Not one more inch.
The enemy.
We can't be silent anymore.
Oh, you're not,
The
honey.
silence has to stop, and it has to stop today. Young men and women are dying in foreign lands to preserve the freedoms that we enjoy every single day.
How are
Can
they
you hear
dying in
them?
foreign lands to preserve
Just
our
listen.
freedoms?
It's their voices from the grave.
Gray
They're wondering if
bones
they
in the
died in
grave.
vain.
Oh, I am in
Do
hell.
we
Help
dare
me.
diminish their sacrifice by our silence? Well, if your answer is no, then you think about this. When history is written, will history say you stood by and you did nothing? Or will history say that you fought? You fought like those brave souls. You fought to preserve the memory of the young men and women that have given everything for this country and for you. We fight for freedom. We fight for freedom. We fight for freedom.
Fucking icon. Oh my God, daddy.
This movie is about hanging up a Christmas tree.
In case you're wondering, the crowd responded very positively.
Yay. We'll probably let you out with some music, but from all of us here at Boys Bible Study, don't forget to pray. This is